Welcome, everyone, to Inside the Birds. It's Adam Caplan with our lead reporter from InsideTheBirds.com, the great Andrew DiCecco. Andrew, it's here, the Super Bowl. It's Super Bowl week finally, my man. How you feeling?
Adam, I feel great. I can't wait to be out there with you and Jeff in New Orleans. Mid-70s out there, so that'll be great.
Yeah, no question about it. Speaking of the weather, our Inside the Birds big game coverage is presented by our friends at Green Lawn Fertilizing. Andrew, we are so excited to have Green Lawn Fertilizing on board to bring you all the birds coverage leading off to kickoff. And Andrew, you know the weather's going to change over, right? We're still in winter. In about 6 weeks, I'm going to be playing tennis outside. For you pickleballers, maybe we'll all be outside. And we want to get rid of that brown grass. Based right here in Philadelphia area, these guys are experts in the region's conditions, and whether it's hot, cold, whatever it takes. Green Lawn and those folks, which my wife and I have used before, they're in PA, New Jersey, and Delaware. So, since they know so much, take advantage of this 10% off deal. I'm told it's a very limited time offer. So head to the link in our description or at greenlawnfertilizing.com/InsideTheBirds to take advantage of that deal, Andrew. Because, man, the grass is already brown. You want to get that fertilizing done, make it look beautiful for spring and summer. All right, Andrew. So as you said, we're headed to New Orleans this week. So follow Andrew on DiCecco. It's a DiCecco. Is your
Andrew? It just at Andrew DiCecco.
At Andrew DiCecco on IG. I know you've got IG.
Same thing.
Yep, and you got X, the same, just like I do. At Caplan NFL and at Jeff P. Mosher, and of course at Inside Birds on X and IG. And Andrew, as we go forward this week, let's get into it because you're a man of the locker room. You've uncovered a lot of information over these last 2 years, but I want to go back 2 years comparatively to the 22 locker room, 24 locker room, and crowbar something in for the 23 locker room. Where's this locker room at? How cohesive is it?
It's the strongest locker room, Adam, that I've ever covered. And keep in mind that I covered the Jets a number of years ago and other teams. But but the point is it's much stronger than the 2022, and that was a tight locker room. But I think you see a lot more, defensive players conversing with offensive players, and the way that a player put it to me is that we're all competitive, but in this case, we all want each other to do well, which hasn't always been the case, at previous stops, whether it be college or wherever. And Isaiah Rodgers said it's the tightest locker room he's ever been in. A number of players have echoed that same sentiment. Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata both said this is the tighter locker room than 2022. And I think a lot of that starts from Nick Sirianni and his messaging and focus on connection. But it also stems from a lot of these veteran players that I feel they get it, and they see a lot of younger players who want to get better, and they're kind of eager, and they kind of take them under their wing and show them the way it's supposed to be.
But is there anything in particular? Now, you mentioned Isaiah Rodgers said it, but is there, because when you study players, you've talked about being around them and so forth, is there anything you've noticed where it's different? Let's go to last year, because you outlined it how there was something off with this. They were unhappy. You could see. Could you tell really in training camp or even OTAs that there was something different about this locker room?
You could tell that it was coming together because you saw the close-knit nature. They're celebrating after big plays. You see guys, talking as they're walking off the field. It just seemed to be a lot more camaraderie than I saw in 2023, where something just felt completely off. And so you saw it. It was cool for me because it's unique, because you see it building from the spring through training camp, and then it gets better throughout the season. And then, man, you see the celebration in the after the NFC Championship game, where everybody was sort of celebrating that together, that what they accomplished. And they all said, Adam, that the job's not done. This is a business trip, and we still have one more to go, which I think is really important, because it'd be very easy for a team going to the Super Bowl they would be complacent. Not this team.
So, Andrew, and we'll get to the Eagles injuries because there's some updates and some interesting developments, mostly positive, by the way, just about all positive. But one thing I wanted to talk to you about, you've covered Nick Sirianni for a long time. How do you think he's changed at all, particularly after what happened last year with him and Hurts? They didn't see eye to eye. There seemed something was off, and it seems like everything's great now. What's happened with Nick here over the last couple of years, particularly last year to this year?
Yeah, I just think he's grown and evolved as a coach. I think he learned from some of his shortcomings. I feel like he's become more receptive, more inclined to allow others to have a perspective or have a voice. And he's really being that CEO where he's able to take a step back and have that 30,000-foot view. You're able to have your hand in more things. So you're able to kind of make sure that the culture is exactly where you want it. You're able to make sure that the game plans and just the fine tuning things that I think a lot of folks aren't really privy to, or they don't really take into account during the week, and that's why they are so buttoned up and focused on the task at hand. And I just think that he, like players, or like you or me, like anyone, they naturally get better and they grow over the years.
The culture thing is interesting because you hear it, it's like a buzzword, but what does that mean? What does the culture mean to you there?
I think the culture is selfless, detailed, and playing with the physicality.
Mm.
That and Nick Sirianni says it all the time: tough, detailed together. That really is their culture. They pride themselves on physicality. They celebrate with each other for whenever anyone makes a play. It's a selfless team. There's a lot of players that had to put their stats on the back burner for the greater good, and it takes a special kind of locker room for everybody to buy in the way that they have. And it's the culture that Nick Sirianni set. It's having a head coach, in my opinion, that he cares and wants to form relationships with all 70 players in the locker room. And you don't always see that because a lot of times when you're so fixated on the details, sometimes you lose sight of what's important. And that's really bringing everybody together so that you're as close off the field as you are on the field.
Andrew, one thing before we get to the Eagles injuries, I wanted to ask you because we really have not, you and I have not discussed the impact of Vic Fangio, not just from a performance standpoint. Obviously, it's been phenomenal, like way better than you and I have talked about that part. We kind of
Mm-hmm.
saw it the same coming to this season. Lots of questions, lots of upside, but a lot of questions. And this
Yeah.
thing has been incredible. What is the biggest reason you've been around Vic in practices? You were in training camp, OTAs. I know you get to go to practice at least for the first 20 minutes, and you've been around these players. You know a lot of these players. How's Vic Fangio been able to make this impact?
There's no gray area with him. There's no guessing. He's very direct. He commands the room, and he's just very demanding of what he expects from his players. And so you're seeing a lot more communication. You're seeing a lot more of the flowing to the football. And I think if you're a player and you see results, you're more inclined to buy in. And everybody has seen results. And you go across the board, everyone has made tangible leaps in terms of their development. And I think that's a byproduct of Vic, what he asks of his players to put them in position, but also his position coaches have done a phenomenal job. And I think it's a collaborative thing where once you start to see the progress and the results because you're putting in the work, there's more of that universal buy-in.
All right, Andrew, let's move on to our injury segment on the Eagles, sponsored by our friends at Stretch Zone. Just go to any of the 12 Stretch Zone locations in Philly or New Jersey to get your free 30-minute stretch, or go to stretchzone.com to sign up. Andrew, Jeff and I were talking about this. I was like, man, anytime I fly, I'm going there, whether it's one in Exton, Haverford, Devon, Elkins Park, where I grew up. I had to get my hamstrings done, my quads done, my shoulders done, especially after tennis.
For the
You
flight?
want, yeah, because I play tennis 5 days a week, and knowing that we're going to be flying, I know it's not a long flight from Philly; it's about 2.5 hours. But I feel like a pretzel. I don't know about you when you're, I'm not paying for first class, so being that you and I are in coach, you're scrunched up a little bit, and I'm always concerned about my hamstrings and my quads. Your hamstrings, your back of your legs, your thigh, and your the front of the quads, and get my shoulders done from tennis. So just make sure you feel good before you fly. And as we've talked about, if you got to stand up a lot, get that free 30-minute stretch by going to stretchzone.com. All right, Andrew, let's get to it. Now, here's the really good news. JalenHurts, that left knee, you saw him take the brace off, put it back on, whatever the case may be. It's off. We would think, because he's no longer listed on the injury report. Now, if he feels like he needs to wear it, he'll wear it. But that's good news, Andrew. I was surprised in that he ran the ball really well against Washington, and now they've got 2 weeks off for it.
Yeah, Jalen looked. I mean, again, we're always seeing the first 20 or so minutes, but he's moving around a lot better. I thought he navigated the pocket a lot better last Sunday than I expected him to. So that should, a lot of fans should be able to take some solace in the fact that he doesn't lack for mobility. That's not going to deter the game plan or anything like that, because a lot of what makes Jalen so special is being that +1 and helping the running game. And so I think that, I mean, with that extra week, I think it's all signs are pointing to Jalen Hurts really being able to round back into form.
Kenny Gainwell, now we know about the concussion, but now he has a knee injury, which popped up when the Eagles had to release their injury report during the bye. Did you see Gainwell in the locker room? Did you see him at practice at all? Did
I
you see
saw
him
him
at
in the
all?
locker room. I
In
saw
the
him in the
locker room.
locker room
Okay.
after the game, and then I saw him Saturday. Yeah, Saturday. That was the last day of availability.
Okay, so you did see him. So he was in the locker room. That's good news that that let's put it this way. He's definitely progressed at least a little bit in the concussion protocol, but obviously this knee injury is mysterious. So the first day of practice this week will be Monday, Wednesday, then Thursday, then Friday, walk through Saturday, Sunday game. Andrew, now will you guys get to are you allowed to see any practice? I get for the Super Bowl how they do it, or you
No,
got to,
no, just media availability, just the
right.
standard. Yeah,
Right, and
no, no practice.
right, and the poll reporter gets to see the whole practice. That's right. Now for both conferences. All right, so AJ Brown here. This is great news. He's off the injury report with that left knee issue. He looked really
Yep.
good, Andrew. In the championship game, Devontae Smith with the hamstring. He's had recurring hamstring issues. Eagles are not concerned at all about it. Now, this is a guy I know you've covered pretty closely. Britton Covey, was terrific, led the NFL in punt return yardage last year. He's got this neck issue where he's not been cleared for contact. He's got that nerve issue. And I know he's limited, which is not a good sign. Do you get a being around him that there's any chance he can be cleared?
That not from what I was able to glean. I didn't see him Saturday. I saw him Friday. Um, Obviously, he's going to be there. I just don't know if they're going to activate him right now. It seems like they're comfortable with Cooper DeJean. And again, it comes back to being clear for contact. If there's any concern about a player being able to absorb a hit when they're having a neck issue, the Eagles aren't going to put that player out there.
Correct. All right, let's move to Dallas Goedert with the ankle injury. He's going to play. Now, this one is interesting. Not that CJ Uzomah, if he's activated, would play a ton, but it would really help them when they go 12 personnel. You take Grant Calcaterra off the field. He's not a great blocker. We know he's an athlete, but Uzomah is a wide tight end in line. That would allow Goddard to get out there to catch passes. So, did you see CJ Uzomah at all in
I
practice?
did. I saw him pretty much all week.
Oh,
And to your point, I don't know how much of an upgrade Uzama would be over EJ Jenkins because EJ Jenkins has really, really improved as a blocker. And if you're looking at it in terms of just your third tight end, who's primarily going to be a blocker, and EJ plays on special teams, I don't know what the benefit would be to activate CJ Uzama.
yeah, and he was activated into the practice window last week. But
21 day.
again, yeah, the one thing he can do is block. And Landon Dickerson, the Eagles say he's good to go. Had they had a game last week, he would have played with a knee, so that's good. They cleared that up. Cam Jurgens with a back, he would have played. Now the new injuries. Let's get to defense, right? Moro Jones with a shoulder, they expect him to play. Zach Bond was added the final day of practice with a groin injury. They expect him to play, but the biggest one by far on either side of the football, it's Brandon Graham after left tricep surgery. Andrew, you were there in the locker room. It seems like it's a fait accompli. He's going to play. He's acting like, hey, it's
Yeah.
but unexpected. This was the test week. What do you glean from everything with BJ?
Yeah. The sense I got is that he's going to give it a go. He seems up. Well, he's always upbeat, but he
Yeah.
seems really confident in where he's at in terms of his recovery. They didn't open up his window for no reason. They opened it up because obviously he was making enough progress. And I think that he knows that this could be the last one for him, but he's going to give it everything that he can. And to the point, I know that there's a lot of questions that how do you push off? How do you shed blocks with a tricep? He just pretty much said, I can side to side. He uses leverage really, really well. So if he can give them anywhere from 8 to 10 snaps, that's already more than what they're getting from Bryce Huff. I think Brandon Graham's actually going to play at him.
Oh yeah, I'm with you. This has completely changed my mind. Now he did cite Hollis Thomas's. Oh gosh, 08 or 09. Hollis Thomas had the tricep surgery and he was able to come back with the Saints. So this is amazing. I mean, you're talking 9 weeks, and this is a 4 to 5 month rehab after surgery to be able to play football again. And this is amazing what he's doing. Now he's wearing a brace on his left elbow. We're going to see. And, let's not forget, he's really good in nickel playing inside. And I don't know if he can
Yes.
do that right now. That's, I don't know what you could see in the warm up period that the reporters are.
Not
obviously.
much.
Yeah,
Not
exactly.
much.
But here's a question for you. Because I don't know if he was able to lift. Because it's one thing to run, which he talked about. He knew he can do that because it's not his knee, it's his left elbow. But you never know what happens with a guy in terms of atrophy at his age, and could he still lift? I don't know. We're gonna learn a lot. we'll see how strong he is. Whenever he plays, as you mentioned, however, we know it's going to be limited, or at least it should be limited. You never know. What if he looks great in the game, which would shock all of us, and based on the surgery, and he looks great in the game, I guess he stays in, because, man, Andrew, you were at that game in Los Angeles. How good did he play in that one?
That was his best game of the season. He was everywhere. He was disruptive behind the line of scrimmage. He was getting after the quarterback. He looked like Brandon Graham of 2015 or 16.
All right, before we go to the Chief injuries, let's take a quick pause.
This ain't the little itty bitty teeny tiny bowl. This is Super Bowl LIX. Get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 59. Scoring touchdowns is key to hoisting the Vince Lombardi trophy, and you have a shot to score big by betting on them at DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. New DraftKings customers can bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code BIRDSPREGAME, all one word. That's code BIRDSPREGAME for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5 only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. New customers only. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
All right, Andrew, the Chiefs, now they expect everyone on the 53-man roster to be available. Sky Moore, who will be a punt kick returner if he's activated, he's missed most of the season with an abdomen injury. He was designated in the 21-day window last week. Sky Moore, let's go to him for a second. Everyone I talked to about this player was wrong. This guy was a favorite of a lot of receivers coaches and personnel people. He's not made it at all, Andrew. I'm surprised that as a former second-round pick, this guy never made it.
Yeah, I got that one wrong. It's also curious to me how the Chiefs use him because, when he was entering the pre-draft cycle, it was clear to me, at least, that he was a slot receiver.
Yep.
He's a smaller build, shifty. Players like that just get the ball in their hands. They just, for whatever reason, he doesn't have a role.
Yeah, this one, look, he's on the final year of his rookie deal, so we'll see what happens with him. But that's it. Look, the good news is it's going to be on a good field, folks. It's going to be New Orleans. The Eagles won week 3 at New Orleans. That was when Fangio brought up that front, which was an unscattered look. No one had seen Bond drop in the box like that, and that stopped the stretch run game for the Saints, and we'll see what Vic has in store for those Kansas City Chiefs. Eagles looking for revenge after what happened 2 years ago, but that was then. This is now. We'll talk more about this matchup later in the week. For Andrew DiCecco, I'm Adam Caplan. We'll speak to you soon.